Have you ever wondered what happens when the strongest creature in the jungle meets the wisdom of a young maiden? Stay with us to find out how a lion learned the true meaning of strength. And it's not what you think. In the heart of Nguvu village, nestled between the towering mountains and lush green forests, lived a lion named Baba Nguvu. Feared and revered by all. His golden mane shimmered in the sun, and his mighty roar sent shivers down the spines of the bravest men. It was said that Baba Nguvu, the Lion King, ruled the forest with an iron paw, never needing to prove his strength. His reputation alone made him the most powerful creature in the land. But there was one thing that irked him: the wise young maiden Amina. Though she was only 16, Amina's wisdom had long been respected by the elders. Her father, the village chief, often consulted her, and her advice was sought by many. Amina's mind was sharp and her heart pure. She loved the village and its people, often helping them with difficult decisions. The animals in the surrounding forests respected her, especially the older creatures who saw her as a bridge between them and humans. However, Baba Nguvu couldn't stand the idea of a young girl outshining him in wisdom. He believed that true strength came from sheer power, and that no one could be wiser than the king of the jungle. So one day, with his immense pride at stake, Baba Nguvu issued a challenge. "Amina," he wrote from the edge of the forest, "I challenge you to the test of strength and wit. If you can best me, I will bow to you and swear to never again challenge your wisdom. But if you fail, you will serve me as my advisor, and I will rule this land unchallenged." The villagers held their breaths, and Amina's heart raced. But she stood firm, knowing she had a gift beyond strength, and she was determined to prove that wisdom, not brawn, would save the day. Before we dive into the story, make sure to stick with us till the end. You won't want to miss the twists and lessons that unfold. And if you enjoy the journey, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales from the heart of Africa. The sun had barely risen when Baba Nguvu arrived at the village. His massive form cast a long shadow as he made his way to the village center, where a large crowd had gathered to witness the showdown. Villagers whispered nervously among themselves, wondering how this challenge would unfold. Would Amina's intelligence be enough to defeat the great lion? Or would her wisdom be crushed beneath the weight of his pride? Amina stood at the edge of the crowd, calm and collected, wearing a simple gown made from woven cotton and adorned with beads that shimmered like morning dew. Her eyes dark and steady, like with the lion's. She knew the stakes of this challenge. If she failed, the village would fall under the lion's rule, but she also knew that no creature could outsmart her if she was true to herself. Baba Nguvu raised his head high, his deep voice rumbling through the air. "The first test is a trail of strength. I will lift this stone of the gods, and if you can lift it, I will know you are worthy of my respect." The stone, a massive boulder as large as a full-grown elephant, lay in the middle of the village square. Baba Nguvu's enormous paws wrapped around it with ease, and with a single heave, he raised the stone high above his head, roaring with triumph. The crowd gasped in awe, and even Amina's heart fluttered a moment. She had never seen such a raw strength. But then Amina stepped forward, her eyes never leaving the stone. She walked toward it and touched the surface with her fingers. The crowd waited with bated breath. She spoke softly, almost to herself. Strength isn't always about lifting what is heavy. Sometimes it's knowing when to let go. With that, Amina walked to the side of the stone and examined it closely. She noticed a crack in its side, barely visible to the naked eye. Gently she pressed against the crack, and with a soft push, the massive stone crumbled in 2 pieces, one in each hand. The crowd erupted in gasps of astonishment. Baba Nguvu's jaw dropped. Amina had not only defied his challenge, but she had seen the weakness in his strength. Baba Nguvu's eyes narrowed, his pride wounded. "Very well, maiden. The first test is yours, but there are more to come." The next challenge was test of wisdom. Baba Nguvu paced back and forth, his eyes glittering with malice. "I will ask you a riddle, Amina. Answer correctly, and you win. Fail, and you will kneel before me and bow your head in shame." The air was thick with tension as the villagers waited for Baba Nguvu's riddle. Amina stood tall, her eyes focused on the lion, unfazed by the weight of the challenge. Baba Nguvu's voice thundered through the air. "What flies without wings, can make you rich or poor, and comes and goes without warning?" The crowd murmured among themselves, unsure of the answer. Amina's mind raced, sifting through the possibilities. She could feel the eyes of the villagers upon her, each of them eager for her to win. After a long pause, Amina's lips parted, and she spoke with quiet certainty. "Time," she said softly. "Time flies without wings, can make you rich or poor, and comes and goes without warning." There was a brief silence before the crowd erupted in applause. Baba Nguvu stared at her, stunned. He had underestimated her. Amina had solved the riddle with ease, and his challenge had failed. "You are cleverer than I thought," Baba Nguvu grumbled. "But we are not finished yet. The final test awaits." The sun was setting as Baba Nguvu led Amina deeper into the forest. This was the final test, one that would determine if Amina could truly outwit him. The air grew thick with the scent of earth and leaves, and the sounds of jungle filled the air. Baba Nguvu stepped in a clearing, his voice low and serious. "Now, Amina, you will face the trail of heart. You must cross this river, which is said to be cursed. Many have tried, but none have returned. If you are truly wise, you will find a way to cross without falling into the deadly waters." The river before her was wild, its water swirling with menace. Amina could hear the roar of currents, and the air around it felt unnaturally cold. She stood for a moment, her gaze fixed on the turbulent water. The villagers gathered behind her, watching anxiously, unsure if Amina could succeed. Amina closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She knew this wasn't a test of strength or riddles. It was a test of courage and empathy. She could hear the whispers of the river in her mind, as if it were alive. She listened closely, feeling the ancient spirits of the water call to her. Slowly she raised her hand and spoke softly. "I do not come to challenge you, river. I come to understand you. Show me the way, and I will walk across, not as a conqueror, but as a friend." For a moment the waters calmed, and a path appeared, hidden beneath the surface. Amina stepped forward cautiously, following the hidden path that the river had revealed to her. The crowd watched in awe as Amina crossed the river, untouched by its fury. Baba Nguvu stood silent, his pride shattered. He had lost, not by force or trickery, but through the power of wisdom, empathy, and understanding. The sun was low on horizon, casting long shadows across the jungle, as Baba Nguvu stood silently, staring at Amina. His once proud and commanding posture had flattered. His great golden mane now seems less imposing. The mighty lion, who had once ruled the forest with a heart full of pride, now looked as if he were weighed down by a burden far heavier than his physical strength could ever bear. There was no roar of triumph this time, only a quiet stillness that filled the air between him and the young maiden who had bested him at every turn. Amina stood still as well, her gaze steady and full of quiet understanding. She had not come here to defeat Baba Nguvu, nor had she wanted to. Her goal was never to overpower the lion, but to show him something he had long lost sight of, the heart of beyond strength, the wisdom in humility, and the power of empathy. And in that moment, she realized that her victory over him wasn't about being right or proving her intellect. It was about helping him rediscover something that had been buried under his own arrogance. The river's whisper still echoed in her mind, as though the earth and the nature itself had joined in the challenge to teach Baba Nguvu the lesson he must needed to learn. Baba Nguvu finally broke the silence, his deep voice almost a whisper, a far cry from the commanding roars that had once made the earth tremble. You have bested me, Amina. I have failed to defeat you by strength, by riddles, and by the heart of the forest. You have shown me that there is more to power than brute force. Perhaps I have been wrong all these years. Amina took a step forward, her eyes soft but firm, looking up at the great lion. She could see the humility in his eyes now, a rare and almost fragile sight in a creature as proud and untouchable as Baba Nguvu had been. Baba Nguvu, Amina said, her voice calm yet strong. You have spent your life proving that you are the strongest. But what if true strength isn't about crushing everything in your path? What if it's about protecting, guiding, and knowing when to step back? The lion shifted, his large paws digging into the earth beneath him as if he's searching for the answers in the soil. I've never known another way. Strength has always been my weapon, my shield, and my crown. What does it mean to rule with wisdom, to show mercy? Amina smiled softly, the same way she had smiled when solving his riddle. She had already known the answer to his question. It was clear in the way the villagers had always approached life. Strength alone never made a ruler wise. Strength could dominate for the time, but wisdom created a legacy. It means, Amina began, knowing when to fight and when to listen. It means understanding that there is power in gentleness, that ruling with an iron paw leaves no room for peace. You have the power to protect the forest, Baba Nguvu, not by overwhelming it, but by understanding it, by guiding it with respect, not fear. The lion's head dropped slightly, as if taking in the weight of her words. Amina reached out gently and placed her hands on his massive paws, a gesture of connection, of empathy. The lion stiffened at first, surprised by the softness of her touch, but soon relaxed as the warmth of her hands seemed to soothe the remnants of his pride. I understand now, Baba Nguvu whispered, his voice filled with regret. I have ruled the forest with fear, and in doing so I have driven away those who could have been my allies. The other creatures of the jungle, they fear me, yes, but they also avoid me. I've been alone for so long, Amina. For the first time in many years, Baba Nguvu felt the weight of his own loneliness, the years of solitude that had shaped him into a being standing before Amina now. He had been so focused on being the strongest, on holding the jungle in his grasp, that he had forgotten what it meant to have real connections, to care for others, to offer kindness, and to lead with compassion. The mighty lion lowered his head, as if acknowledging the truth in Amina's words. I will try, Amina, Baba Nguvu said, his voice deep but genuine. I will learn how to lead with wisdom and kindness, I will no longer be a king who rules through fear, but one who guides with heart. You have taught me that true power comes from within, from how we treat others, and from our abilities to listen." Baba Nguvu took a deep breath, and for the first time in his life, he felt the peace that came with understanding. It was the feeling he had never known in his years of power, but it was more profound than any victories he had ever claimed. Amina returned to the village a hero. Her victory over Baba Nguvu was celebrated, not as a triumph of power, but as a victory of wisdom and peace. From that day on, Baba Nguvu roamed the forest, no longer a tyrant, but a guardian of the land. Amina became the village's new advisor, respected not only for her intelligence, but for the kindness she showed to every creature, big and small. Years later, the village of Nguvu prospered under Amina's guidance. The people spoke of her wisdom, and her story spread far and wide. It was said that she could outsmart even the most fearsome beast with nothing but her words. And though she became a revered figure, she never lost sight of what truly mattered, that wisdom is a gift meant to be shared, not hoarded. And so the wise maiden lived on in the hearts of villagers, a symbol of humility and intelligence for generations to come.